We all have that one park. Our home park. Whether it's Dollywood, Cedar Point, or Kentucky Kingdom, this park just feels different. It gives off a certain feeling that one cannot replicate. My home park is none other than Six Flags Great America. I've been going to Great America for as long as I can remember. Home to 16 operating roller coasters, it's considered one of Six Flags' best parks. Today, I'll be ranking my top 10 coasters at this park, which is quite a feat considering the sheer diversity in their lineup. Seriously, this park's top 3 is fierce. With all of that said, let's count down the top 10 coasters at Six Flags Great America. Number 10 is one of the park's first roller coasters, and their first roller coaster to invert. Opening in 1976, the Demon is a park classic. This coaster is definitely one of the better era loopers out there. It doesn't quite top Tennessee Tornado, but wow, this ride is so much fun. That drop never gets old, and god do I love those tight, intense loops. This ride is definitely smoothest in the fourth to back row. In that row, sure, it doesn't compare to the modern B&Ms and such, but for a roller coaster that first opened over 45 years ago, it still has one heck of a punch. As a whole, this ride gets half as much credit as it deserves, and I love this ride. 2 roller coasters first opened at this park in 2001, Deja Vu and Vertical Velocity. Over the years, due to technical reasons, Deja Vu closed down. That leaves us with the Vertical Velocity. In previous videos, I've crapped all over this thing saying it's rough, the launches aren't good, and that in general it's a weak ride. But let me tell ya, I've definitely warmed up to this thing. Though it's still not the strongest in the park's lineup, it's not as bad as I've previously made it out to be. The launches, while not intense, do give a little bit of a kick, and they catch you by surprise. I still hate that forwards twisting tower, but riding back row on that vertical tower is awesome. You are so high up in the air, and you feel like everything moves in slow motion up there. And the fact that you are floating makes this ride even better. I prefer many other coasters at this park to it, but I still have a blast on this thing, as long as I sit in the back. My next pick is a ride that used to sit in my number 1 spot. When I first became a roller coaster enthusiast, X-Flight was the perfect ride for me. It was big, intimidating, smooth, graceful, and it went upside down. I loved this ride so much. But in recent years, my preference has definitely shifted from liking big and graceful rides to tight, compact, and intense coasters. That said, I still like this ride. For a ride built by Six Flags, it has a hefty dose of theming, which is always welcome. You fly through an airplane hangar before swooping back around and hitting the ride's most iconic moment, that inline twist through the control tower. It feels unreal to go through an inversion so slowly. This is this ride's secret weapon. The other wing coasters I've ridden, Gatekeeper and Wild Eagle, are both fun, but this is the reason why this ride is so great, along with this coaster's amazing intensity. For a wing coaster, this plot of land is small, so you are constantly doing some sort of turnaround element. There's one moment where you hit a Maverick-style turn over the pond. Yeah, you heard me right, a Maverick turn on a wing coaster. This coaster is so good despite being a B&M wing. Give this thing more credit. American Eagle is a ride that, while it is a great ride, needs to go. That is a prime plot of land for a phenomenal out and back coaster. And although I do recognize how good this ride is, I also see the potential for this plot of land. Moving on, this ride has an awesome drop, and its airtime hills are super fun. Its helix is hilarious to ride with friends, because it beats the ever-living crap out of you. The helix is so shaky, you're just bouncing up and down, it's absolutely ridiculous. But again, this plot of land has potential that is way better than American Eagle can ever be. I really wish they RMC'd this instead of building Goliath. It really is unfortunate. The Joker is yet another underrated ride. Joker honestly depends on the day. It can be painful, mediocre, fun, or out of this world intense. Although I do love those intense rides with all of my heart, this ride is way too inconsistent with its results to warrant a higher placement. It's fun, just inconsistent. When it is fun, it can easily be my best ride of the day. You get crazy whip and incredible flips on this ride, but again, I wish it was just more consistent. From a good clone to a better clone, now we're looking at Batman the Ride. Bro, where do I start? Literally, where do I start? Let me break this beast down element by element. The drop gives great whip and a dash of weightlessness before absolutely destroying you with positive G's. Oh, and if you're wondering, those positives don't let up, like at all, during the entire ride. You then hit a fantastic loop. There isn't much to say on these loops other than to comment on the mind-numbing forces. You then hit one of my favorite inversions, the 0G roll. Due to the slight pause before the inversion, your mind leads you to believe that it will let up in intensity a little bit, but it does the opposite, and it cranks it up to 11 and flips you over with wicked intensity. The rest of the ride includes another great loop, a fantastic helix, 2 awesome corkscrews, and a whole lot of intensity. As a whole, this ride is absolutely phenomenal in almost every way. Viper is a ride that has dropped a bit for me. After getting spoiled by world-class airtime on Zeus and Thunderhead, this ride's air just kind of falls a little bit short for me. I went from someone who would go on for hours about this ride's absurd air, but now, having ridden more Woodies, it kinda disappoints me. Don't get me wrong, I still love this ride. It just could do a little bit better in my opinion. It has its great moments, but it leaves me wanting more. Now we're getting into the fierce top 3. I just want to start this out by saying that these are interchangeable, but this is how I rank them as of now. At the number 3 spot is Max Force. After getting a few dozen rides on this absolute powerhouse, I feel I can say that I know this thing pretty well. Opening in 2019, this ride uses compressed air to launch the train at speeds nearing 80 miles an hour in under 2 seconds. It's quite the feeling sitting on the launch track at a standstill 1 second and flying at 80 miles an hour the next. This is one of those few times where you need quite a few rides to understand what this launch does to your body. It honestly feels surreal. The best part is that it still has a good ride portion after the incredible launch. You hit a dog's tongue inversion that gives spectacular views before hitting one of the ride's most intense portions. This turn that merges into a heartline roll is phenomenal to say the least. It all happens so fast. Following this, you enter actually a really fun and underrated inversion, the max dive loop. The hang time you get here is incredible, and god do I love the whip in and out of it. While this ride is breathtaking, to say the least, I still have to acknowledge its length. It needs work. But this ride is still great. I love it despite its flaws. But that length of only 21 seconds is the ultimate reason it sits at number 3. Goliath will always hold a special place in my heart. While it was too intense for me at the time, it was my first big roller coaster when I first rode it when I was 8. Over the years, I've gotten dozens upon dozens of rides on this beast. Everything is phenomenal, and there's no wasted element over the entire 3,100 feet of track. Everything is optimized for maximum intensity and thrill. The drop is ridiculous, the airtime moments are spectacular, the dive loop is fun, and holy crap, do not even get me started on the stall. This ride is so incredible, and it seems to be a hidden gem these days, especially with no one talking about it. Goliath is fantastic, but it falls just a tiny bit short of the monster towering over the other side of the park. You guessed it, my favorite roller coaster at Six Flags Great America is none other than Raging Bull. For starters, this ride has the best drop on any coaster, simply put. Name a better drop, I dare you. This ride has more airtime than people expect, with a lot of it in unexpected places. For instance, you get great floater exiting this turn, and absolutely ridiculous ejector exiting this helix. Similarly to Goliath, every element seems to have a purpose. Newsflash everyone, an element doesn't need to invert, have ejector, or be super intense to be fun. For instance, this turn right here has none of that, but still manages to be super fun. This ride brings back the memories of you riding coasters before you were an enthusiast. You know how before you became an enthusiast you would just ride to have fun, and you wouldn't put every element under a microscope, scouring it for flaws? That's what this ride is like. It brings back that awesome feeling of just riding to have fun. Also, unlike the other 2 coasters in this park's big 3, it is so long. This ride pulls off the feat of being long, but also making every element count. God, do I love this ride. And that concludes my top 10 coasters at Six Flags Great America. Not only did you manage to find my video, but you also watched through the entire thing, and I cannot thank you enough for that. I'll have a bunch new videos coming out just like this one over the next couple weeks, so if you'd like to see more, A sub to the channel would be incredible. Recently, my channel surpassed 450 subscribers, and it doesn't feel real that nearly 500 of you guys were nice enough to subscribe to me. You guys mean everything to me. And with that, I'll see all of you in my next video. Goodbye.